because next year's year 4.
But he also did excuse his performance a little bit with the injury.
And Boone did not.
Correct.
They were not on the same page with that.
Volpe, and Cashman was going against what Volpe himself said and what Boone said.
Yes.
Defending his player.
Yes.
I think it was his soft way of defending Volpe. He can't do it vehemently the way that he did it last year.
He
looked like an idiot. He can't do that, but he did still defend. Bottom line is, I would move on from Volpe. They are going to stick with Anthony Volpe. Now, they're going to have to get somebody else in the short term. Is it Caballero? Who knows who's going to play short until he's ready? I can't imagine you could go into the season like that not knowing if and when he's going to come back, and then when he does come back, the uncertainty of it. But I believe that's what they're going to do.
Yeah, I think so, too. Now, listen, I don't think there's any reason to get rid of Anthony Volpe because Anthony Volpe is not due some massive financial commitment. He's still making relative peanuts, compared to other, he's not a star, but other players in baseball. Now, when
I say move on, by the way, I don't mean just...
You don't mean jettison. You mean maybe second base or bench or something like that?
Whatever. You put him down to the minors or work his way back up. I would move on from him being my starting big league shortstop.
Fair enough. I wouldn't yet, but I got you. I don't have many, much room to stand on anymore with that. You know that. Okay. So the thing about... and they were on different pages, and I'm not trying to create drama where there's no drama, but they said two very different things with Volpe, Boone and Cash. I do think, to be fair to Cashman, the difference with a general manager being in the weeds medically versus Boone, now the medical charts, like Boone's got so many people to worry about in player development and off-season workouts. It's Brian's job, I think, more intimately. So to know what's going on medically, when Brian said that the MRI, and this happens, I don't care how advanced medicine is, this still does happen. When the MRI says one thing, when you slice somebody open, it could be a lot worse than even the best reading of an imaging can tell you. So I think that's what happens. I think it's a little bit middle of the road. I think Volpe wanted to keep going. They did the testing to see if he was okay. He was. And then, maybe you dive on it, it flares up again. And then when they went in, they're like, whoa, this is absolutely worse than we thought. And, maybe now Boone didn't say that. Cashman did. I don't know. It's a little bit of everything, but I think Cashman actually handled that part pretty well.
Well, also, both can be true. I mean, you have to acknowledge that at some point it probably impacted his performance. However, it's not an excuse because it's year 3 and he hasn't been anywhere near as good as he was supposed to be. So I think that both are true to a certain extent. More breaking down the press conferences from Boone and Cash when we come back. First time both of them speaking since the season ended. Obviously, Boone was there right after the game, a week ago when the Yankees were eliminated. But the year-end press conference, and I got to tell you, we had the little BT and Sal, Brian Cashman press conference bingo. Dude, this was like, what was it, Hoffa with Geraldo there with the disappointment looking for the save for the vault, and there was nothing. There was nothing. I expected fireworks. Nobody's going to ask Brian Cashman or Booney to respond to what Jeter and A-Rod said, scathing remarks. So you didn't get any of that. You did get a little bit of the trust our process. We believe in Volpe, had a really good team, full support of ownership, and there was one moment where Cashman alluded to the Astros cheating them out of the World Series. He did say that a little bit later on, but a different type of tone that I thought we were going to get from Brian Cashman.
And you got Spencer Jones as well.
Spencer Jones
that was brought up by, that was the last question.
All
right, so my takeaway with Cash is today, he was definitely very pensive, as he often is, a code for rambling. He's throwing it on and on and on. He was very measured, didn't say anything, really off messaging today. I thought he'd be more combative. I thought it would be more spicy. I thought it would be more fiery. And I got to tell you there, Sal, for the first time, I thought Brian Cashman sounded tired. Like, I'm watching him and I'm sitting there saying, I'm not saying he's not capable of doing the job, even though I, would have moved on a couple of years ago, over due respect. It didn't sound like he had a lot of oomph in his delivery today. Now, he's not a comedian up on stage. Mm-hmm. He's not some musical act that you pay a couple $100 a ticket to go and watch. He's a general manager. So I don't need some incredibly over-the-top, nutty presentation to make me feel better, because the only thing that matters is what they do during the offseason. And now they've got some injuries that they've got to obviously work around, as we talked about. But he seemed tired.
Well, I mean, maybe obviously he's disappointed with the same result and maybe thinking, well, we've tried to do this thing a few different ways and just nothing has been good enough, but we built a team that won 94 games. Toronto had our number, couldn't get past Toronto. Maybe in his mind, he believes it would have been a different result had they were able to spell the Blue Jays. Maybe they beat the Mariners, whatever the case may be. Maybe they go in the... I can't tell you exactly what he's thinking other than it's been the same thing for a long time. They believe that they build a team that's good enough to get through the postseason and go win a World Series, but yet they keep falling short in the postseason, which they believe is a crapshoot. So you could, like, he basically said we had as good a chance as anybody going in. We tried to upgrade the team the best that we could. We did. We'll do it again. With ownership gives us the resources to go out there and put together a team to compete legitimately for a World Series every year. It just doesn't always happen. Unfortunately, it hasn't happened since 2009. It's a long time. And we do believe, like, there's a reason for it. It's not just a crapshoot. The way the Yankees constructed their team has not been good enough. That's for me. And I don't know if he's going to agree with that or not, but we've seen the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, I think the only thing that was different for me this year is that it felt more like a team that actually could get to and win a World Series. You know, so many of these versions of the Yankees, I mean, if you know anything about baseball and you're able to take off the fandom, the hat for a moment and look at things objectively, you know, most Yankee fans understood where this team was for a big chunk. And I don't just mean, you know, post-championship 09, because there were times where I'm like, all right, you know, the baby bombers, here we go.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about the last few iterations, outside of last year, of course, when they got to the World Series. I'm like, this team doesn't have it. Are you kidding me?
Well, let me ask you something. You think the Blue Jays are a better team?
I think top to bottom, their lineup is more potent. A better team? No, I don't.
You don't think
Only because of the starting pitching. Now, I know that Fried got rocked and Rodon wasn't very good, and Bichette didn't play. Honestly, A to Z, I don't. I think it's close.
I don't know how you could say that. I thought this was a layup. Definitively, the Blue Jays are a better team by any measure. Dude, they played them at that. They owned them all year long.
Yeah, I know. That's why I hesitated. They smoked them.
Even the Yankees would admit the Blue Jays were a better team. So then my counter to that would be, well, why? How is it possible that Toronto, if I'm Hal, I go to Brian and Boone and be like, okay, you told me this was the best team that we've had since 2018. I give you the resources on par with the top in the sport, maybe not as much as the other teams do, but right there with the Mets, Dodgers, whatever. How come the Blue Jays were able to build a better team than what we have here? That's what I want to know. Or if you don't think that they're better, whatever, fair enough. Semantics maybe. But
definitely better at certain things, like putting the ball in play. And that matters.
How come they were able to beat us in the regular season, different versions of our team? They beat us up in the regular season and dominated us in the postseason. Why was that the case? That's what I would want an answer to. It can't just be, well, we got owned by the Blue Jays.
That's random.
We'll try to do it again.
That's fair.
Next year.
That's very, very fair. By the way, you mentioned Hal, right? So Cashman, here's what he said with his conversations with Hal after the Yankees got eliminated. Quote, he's frustrated. He's disappointed. He wants a championship. He wants one for him and his family. They believe many times we had a chance to do something, and he knows opportunity lost for all of us. So generally, Cashman, you know, when he talks of Hal, it's about support, the resources. Hey, bring something to me. I'll let you know if we can do it. Generally, he does most things. That is where I would like to hear from Hal. It doesn't change the result, but if the general manager is telling me that he's frustrated, he's disappointed, I think at some point Hal's got to communicate that to the fans. You're not a day-to-day liaison to the fans. That's Boone. Or a periodical liaison, which is Cashman, right, with the quarterly updates during the season, if you will. Trade deadline, whatever, spring training. But you are the big guy. This is your team, and this is your checkbook, and it is your right. I know it's not his personality. I get that. I don't mean he's got to be a raving lunatic like his pops, but you could parachute in and let us know what you're thinking about getting mopped by Toronto.
I think you just hit on the main theme of this whole thing. Today's day was, okay, let's hear from Boone, let's hear from Cashman, and really we didn't get much other than the injury updates and a little bit here or there. But really, what can they say? We already know what they think because we've heard from them repeatedly. We need to hear from the guy who's making the decision to continue employing Cashman and Boone. Not saying that they deserve to be fired or whatever, but just not changing anything and still expecting a different result. Yeah. What does he think? Cashman's tried it different ways. They've had different versions of the team. Plan B, tried for Soto. None of it's worked. So what does Hal think of the results year after year after year falling short of winning a World Series?
It's such a simple question, but it speaks to everything that the Yankee fan deserves it and would want to know. If Hal's up there, and whether it's Andy or anybody else Joel, who covers the sport for their livelihood, you could frame it however you want. But here's how I would frame it respectfully. Hal, you've been doing this for a long time, and you've given Yankee fans a lot of good moments with teams that are really, really good. You haven't won since 2009, yet you have the same general manager, and, you've had the manager for almost a decade here. Why are they still
Or
however you want, but you've got to at least.
What are you going to do to change?
Yeah, well, you got to put him on record why he believes, and again, my focus is more on the general manager. Why do you believe that Brian is still the guy? The sport's changed, things have evolved. Has he evolved enough with the sport? It's kind of, outside of this year a little bit, you've kind of lost the same way. Strikeouts, errors, shoddy bait. Again, a little bit different this year, to be fair. But it's been a similar ouster. It's been, when the Yankees lose, it's never pretty.